Siyata Dishmaya, Shavua Tov. We're going to be learning in Yalkut Yosef and Alshech of catching up. What do you do if you're late for Shacharit? What do you do if you have to catch up? We know it's very important to pray in a minyan. It's a segula for Parnasah as well. Good money coming down, good flow of bracha to pray in a minyan. There's many different things that you get from praying in a minyan. Most importantly is that you know your prayers are being accepted. You can have a very beautiful davening by yourself, and you can be on a high madrega, and by yourself you have no promise that your prayers are being accepted, meaning they're being heard for sure, accepted, fully being able to make a full impact. That you can know 100% with a minyan. By yourself you don't know that, right? So it's very important to pray in a minyan. But sometimes we experience it that we pray in minions or we're connected to minions that are a little bit harder to keep up with them, or we struggle to show up on time, all these different things. And then what do? Because technically you have to pray with a minion. Praying in halacha only ever means amidah, the shmonaisa, the silent prayer. That's what it means to pray with a minion. So obviously there's kadishim and there's different things, right? But there's a big inyan that you start the amidah 10 people together in unison. That's why it's important to have more than 10 people in your minyan. And if you have only 10 people in your minyan, you have to make sure they all get to the Amidah at the same time. It's a lot of different things that go into this, but now we're going to be focusing on the idea of catching up. What do we do if we're late? Tefilah, yesh lechol adam. Every person is obligated, right, to come earlier to Tefilah, to wake up, to go to shul, to be there on time, to say together with the tzibur all of the Tefilah, from the beginning to the end. And if you came late, so it could be you have to skip certain parts of your Tefilah and complete them afterwards, make it up afterwards. When that happens, so you're ma'apech hatzinorot, you flip and put out of order the pipelines, the seder olamot, and all of the order of the worlds. Meaning, our prayers are organized by prophets, Anshe Knesset HaGedolah included within them prophets, and the rest of them were definitely chachamim, and chacham adif min avi. So some of the holiest people to ever live instituted what our prayers look like. Came later Kabbalists and infused more depth into it. They created a structure that's called Shacharit, Mincha, and Arvit. What are you meant to be saying in those times? And every single paragraph, where it comes and when it comes, and everything is divinely ordained, and it's with immense precision, and everything matters. So all of a sudden, if you come late and you skipped Korbanot, you skipped the world of Asiyah, and you started from Sugei de Zimra, and then you have to go back and complete this. So what happened now? Maybe he'll bring it here, but I heard once say it outside of the book. Rav Ovadia said that a person that comes late to shul, or a person that doesn't do the whole entire order of the Tefilah, so it's so to say like he put his jacket on before his shirt. He put his pants before his underwear. Everything's backwards, everything is not how it's meant to be. So we have to try our best, lechatchila, to show up and to daven the minyan and say the whole entire order, to go up the world, to come back down, bring down the shefa. Rav David ben Zimra writes, he brings from the Midrash Ne'elam, when the Shechina arrives at a synagogue and finds people reciting Mizmorim, each at his own rate, so that some people are ahead and others are behind, it immediately leaves. The Midrash states, when people gather in a synagogue and recite the Shema with the congregation and in unison, the Holy One declares to those in his garden, when you recite it as a group, I listen to your voices together with my entourage. When the people recited haphazardly, some running ahead and others falling behind and without concentrating on the meaning of its words, the Shekhinah screams, flee like a gazelle, go back to the angels who sing in your honor in unison melodically on the mountains covered with fragrant herbs in the highest heavens. Because Baruch Hu wants us to be davening together. Classically, in most Sephardi shuls, you have this. Start together. There's either one person saying everything out loud, so that the whole idea there is unison. Let's be together. Let's be on the same page. Let's be saying the same words. By the Chassidim is a little bit more balagan, right? All over the place. It's okay, the Shekhinah is there too. Not to argue with these Chachamim, but in Malasat, you can see certain places you walk in there, everybody's on a different page, and there's definitely Shekhinah in there. But again, lechatchila, we're coming to pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Malachim sing together, Zel, Zev, Amar. Right? Each one looked at the other and asked for permission, and they wanted to know that they were all together. We're going to say this together, Kadosh, 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 in unison, together. And that's the most beautiful way, the unity that we need. Not only do we have to do the Amidah together, like for sure we have to, right? That's Tefilah b'tzibur. Tefilah is always the Amidah. But it's also fitting to say Korbanot together, and to do Psukei D'Zimra together, and to do Shema together. Why not? Why not be in unison the whole entire time? So then when someone arrives late to the synagogue and spends all his time catching up, he loses that aspect of it. The Sha'ar Kavanot, which is the Arizal, goes to great length to explain how every passage of our daily prayers is important and why each one follows the passages preceding it. If we want our prayers to be fully effective, we must make sure to recite the entire text of Shacharit and to recite it in the proper order. In the Magid Mesharim, you know what Magid Mesharim is? You know what it is? Rav Yosef Karo, the writer of the Shulchan Aruch, Beit Yosef, he lived here in Tzfat, Pereira. And before he even came to Eretz Yisrael, he was already Zoche to have a Magid, an angel that would come and learn Torah with him and teach him Torah, Shamayim, and teach him different things and give him Cheshbon Nefesh, and it's like telling him what he needs to work on and all these different things. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing book. It's essentially Rav Yosef Karo and his Chevruta, this angel. Magid Mesharim. A Magid is an angel that, right? So Magid is speaking to you. And he was telling him the straight path. It's like a very, 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 very beautiful book. Very, 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 very trippy. Essentially, Rav Yosef Karo had this little angel with him all the time. The Tikkun Shavuot that we all do, right? That we stay up all night learning and everything. That was Rav Elkabetz and Rav Yosef Karo came up with that together. And it was also by way of the advice of a Magid, of an angel. And now all of Am Yisrael does Tikkun Leil Shavuot. We started with two Sephardi Kabbalists sitting together with an angel, doing Tikkunim of the Shekhinah, rectifying the Shekhinah, beautifying the Shekhinah. And then that same angel told them that they have to come to Tzfat. They have to move to Eretz Yisrael and to go to Tzfat. And then we got a Shulchan Aruch. So that, from a communication with an angel came Shulchan Aruch, Beit Yosef, Tikkun Leil Shavuot, and many other things, I'm sure. We know this, it's not only him. People have Gilui Eliyahu. The Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh learned Torah from Achia Shiloni.
Who's that?
Achia Shiloni was the rabbi of Eliyahu Navi, the teacher of Eliyahu Navi, and he was one of the students of Moshe Rabbeinu, and he lived from Moshe's time until David's time, to after David. Achia Shiloni, he was the Rebbe of Eliyahu Navi, and he was the Rebbe of the Baal Shem Tov. He's a Bechina of Rashbi. Rashbi was a Gilgul of Achia Shiloni. There was a certain thing in the Gemara that they talk about how Achia technically had the ability to fight Avodah Zarah in his generation, and he didn't do it. Whatever Bechina, right? Whatever aspect of, for his level, it was a blemish, it was a gam. That he, as the leader of the Tzaddik of Am Yisrael, you should have done more to fight Avodah Zarah. And he came back as Rashbi, and Rashbi spent his whole entire life fighting foreign entities in Avodah Zarah to the point that he was number one most wanted by the Roman FBI. So that he did that tikkun, right? And then again, this soul came down to teach Maran Baal Shem Tov his Torah, the Torah of Mashiach. So all of that was just to introduce what is the book Magid Mesharim. Rav Yosef Karo writes there that the angel who regularly taught him Torah warned him to always arrive early at synagogue so that he can recite the entire text of Shacharit without omitting any of it. Don't skip anything. For if he would omit passages or recite them out of order, he would twist and constrict the spiritual pipelines. The Solid Belula testified that he witnessed many outstanding Torah scholars who always made sure to recite the entire text of Shacharit in order, even if they happened to arrive late at synagogue. The Beretev concurred with this, and the Petach Devir cited several poskim who agreed that one must never omit passages from the text of Shacharit. The Kaf HaChaim Sofer concurred with this ruling, explaining that he did not explain all of the details of the halachot regarding omitting certain sections of the Shacharit in order to catch up with the congregation, since it is better to recite all of Shacharit in the proper order, even if it means missing the opportunity to recite the Amidah together with the congregation. A posek, who is a very Kabbalistic posek, Kaf HaChaim Sofer, he brings all of the Chassidut and all of the Chumrot and all of the Kabbalistic inyanim that a person should do within the halacha. He left out the halachot of how to catch up to the Tefilah, because according to his opinion, you missed it. But one thing's for sure, do not skip a single letter in your Shacharit. Meaning from the beginning, from the Hashem and Torah, before the Akedah, all the way to Aleinu, Kodesh Kodeshim. Missed the minyan? Okay, you missed the minyan. You missed out today. Didn't do a sin, but you missed the minyan. Skipping a word of Shacharit, you're flipping the pipes around, you're messing with Shefa, that's already a whole other thing. Download it properly.
Person shouldn't jump in and say if it's late, Shema.
We're learning the halachot. This was the opinion of the Kaf HaChaim Sofer, which is a Mekubal. But you see here, there's a lot of different poskim. I'll tell you personally, outright, halacha l'maaseh, you're meant to skip. We're going to learn it. We're learning now this, maybe not all today, but we're learning now the halachot of what do you do when you're late to shul and you have to catch up. Halacha l'maaseh, bottom line halacha, I'm going to tell you, most poskim will tell you to skip and to pray the Amidah in a minyan. Here we just listed off a ton of Rishonim and Achronim and poskim that said, don't miss a single word. And there was Mekubalim here and not Mekubalim, right? Meaning, your Shacharit was instituted, we said this right before you walked in, but who made Shacharit? Who instituted our Tefillot? Who wrote those words? Anshe Knesset Gdolah. Inside Anshe Knesset Gdolah, we had prophets? Yes. Our Tefillah was organized and set out by prophets. To mess with that? So now, how do you catch up? How do you daven in a minyan? You have to skip in order to do it. If you want to hit the Amidah together with the minyan, you have to skip if you were late. You have to skip certain things. So no one's saying skip and go your whole day without saying it. Make it up later. But even that, the Mekubalim already come and say, okay, like Rav Ovadia said, you put on your jacket and then you put on your wife beater, your tank top, right? Like on top of your jacket. You will put on your boxers after you put on your pants. And then you walk around in the street like that. So we don't see that. We don't see that on people. But there are people that see that on people, and there's definitely from Shamayim, they see a person walking around with all of his clothing messed up. What is that? That they did Yetzirah, meaning they went into the Psuket Dezimah first, and then they did Shema and Bria, and then they did Amidah and Atzilut, and then they finished Atzilut. In Atzilut, they wanted to go back and do Korbanot. And it's like everything's out of order here, everything's messed up. The response to Rav Pa'alim, which is the Ben Ish Chai, asserted that as a master Kabbalist, he is uncomfortable with the idea of skipping passages during Shacharit. Although he outlines the instructions for omitting passages in order to catch up in the congregation. So then you already have the Ben Ish Chai. The Ben Ish Chai comes and says, Chas v'chalila, you should ever do this. I don't understand why you would ever do this, but here are the halachot if you have to. But I don't suggest you do it. Right, the middle path, and these halachas exist. As a rabbi, I have to teach you how to do it. But if you listen to me, I'll tell you, don't ever skip any word. I'll tell you just personally, I had a big problem with this. I had a certain shul in Yerushalayim that I would pray there, that I wanted to daven there, but I had a hard time getting on time to the shul. Whether I woke up, there's miniyot, spiritual, physical, traffic, this was always an issue. I never ever showed up to this minyan on time. And I asked the Rav one time, I came in Shacharit, pretty late, like towards nearly at Ishtabach, and I asked my Rav, who's still my posek to this day, I asked him, I was like, should I skip? He couldn't speak, but I was like, should I skip? He's like, he took my Siddur, he opened to the HaYichud before Akedah, he said, here, and he said, like, he hinted to me like every single word. And I asked him afterwards, I said to him, I was like, why did you tell me to daven this way? It's not halacha. He says there's room to say that it is halacha. Most poskim say it is that way. Even if they teach you how to skip, they will tell you, this is the first time I'm not seeing it inside. Right? But he changed my life because since then, shacharit, every single word. Even today I showed up late in Malasot. This is now stuck in me and I love it. I love it. I'm okay not praying with the minyan. I'm in the minyan. There's many opinions that say if there's someone still praying Shemona Esrei, if they haven't got into Aleinu yet, there's all of those opinions as well. So I'm covered. My shacharit. That hour, I want to say every single word. I want to hit everything. Several achronim, the Minchat Aaron and the Yaskil Avdi, Simchat Kohen, concurred with the Kaf HaChaim Sofer and ruled that one must always recite the entire text of shacharit in order. Although by doing so, one loses the opportunity to recite the Amidah together with the congregation. On the other hand, Rav Ovadia Yosef Zatzal asserted that while it is true that there is great value in reciting the entire text of shacharit in order, the value of reciting the Amidah together with the congregation surpasses it. Rav Ovadia again is always pshat, bottom line, halacha, what's the most important thing? Everything else is chumros, everything else is deep ideas. And like we said, the idea of saying every single word, again, is a Kabbalistic idea. What is your chiyuv every day? To pray the Amidah with a meaning. Like I just said though, one of them is still in it, there's tons of poskim that cover you on that idea. Your goal should be every single day to show up on time to shul, to be able to say every word, and pray with a meaning. Right? That's the chatchila. Show up on time, make sure you can say every word, and on time for every person is different. Right? For some people that means you have to show up to shul 30 minutes before they start davening. For some people it means right on time. Some people, they know you can be 10 minutes late and I'll still hit that Amidah with the minute. Everybody's different, but lechatchila, you should be able to say every single word in your Siddur that you're meant to say. You guys know the story of the Baal Shem Tov, right? You know the story of the Baal Shem Tov? Once he was visiting a certain town and he met a Jew there. And this Jew was saying every single word in the whole entire Siddur every day. Cover to cover. You know this? And the Baal Shem Tov said, it's not exactly what you have to do. It's a bit hard. Let me help you out. Let me put, stickies and bookmarks or whatever it was. They didn't have stickies back then. Right? Bookmarks inside your Siddur. And this is what you have to say. And the Baal Shem Tov sat and organized his whole entire Siddur. This is shacharit, this is mincha, this is arvit. Baal Shem Tov leaves him. Something happened. This guy's Siddur fell, and all of the markings fell out of the Siddur. So now he's on a mission to chase down the Baal Shem Tov, to find the Baal Shem Tov. Finally gets in the vicinity of the Baal Shem Tov. He sees the Baal Shem Tov going, and there's a river in front of him. Baal Shem Tov takes off his gartel, throws it across the river, and walks across the gartel like a bridge. This guy comes up, takes his garter off, throws it across the river, and crosses it like a bridge. Gets the Baal Shem Tov, says, Rebbe, all of my papers fell out. I don't have any of the markings that you made for me. I don't know how to daven again. Baal Shem Tov looks at him and says, how did you get here? He says, I saw the Rebbe throw his gartel and cross it on the gartel, so I did the same thing and I crossed on the gartel. He says, if you can do that, go back to davening the whole entire Siddur. You don't need my markings. You do it, right? So again, we're talking about neshamot here, Jewish souls. We have no idea. Everybody has their own ma'alach. Halacha is halacha. We're learning halacha right now. Lechatchila, you need to show up to shul on time for yourself, whatever that means, to be able to say every single word in that Siddur that you're meant to say it. That's part of shacharit, that's part of mincha, that's part of arvit. And not need to catch up. Learning how to pace yourself in a minyan is a very important thing, and that's why it's important to pray in the same place. Because you start to learn that minyan, you start to know how to gauge it, you know your times, you know this. Technically, if you show up after Ishtabach, you have to go to a different minyan. So all these different things. You have to learn how to navigate Tefilah, and Tefilah is an art. Tefilah is an art. Like artists, they started at a certain level, and with time they get better and better and better and better, and they learn different mediums, and they learn different ways So too, Tefilah is an art. How do you do it? What do you do it? Which tools are you doing it? Which mode? What are you feeling right now? What emotions are going in? All of these things are part of art. They're all part of Tefilah. Tefilah is not prayer. Say it all the time. Prayer in English in the dictionary, if you look it up, is requesting something from a higher power. Tefilah in Hebrew is connection. Tefillin, Tefilah, same word. It's connection, it's dveikut, it's attachment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Do a little bit more. Breathwork. Although the Shulchan Aruch ruled that one may omit the entire section of Pesukei Dizimra in order to catch up with the congregation. Skip the whole entire Pesukei Dizimra. The Or L'Tzion asserted that this is not the halacha in practice. According to Kabbalah, he explained one must recite Pesukei Dizimra before Shacharit. Therefore, one must recite at least Baruch She'amar, Ashrei, and Ishtabach. Rav Ovadia disagreed with his position, like we'll talk about later in another footnote. Again, Baruch She'amar and Ishtabach is a sandwich. If your sandwich just consists of bread and bread, it's not a sandwich, it's 2 pieces of bread. Baruch She'amar is bracha rishona, Ishtabach is bracha achona. If there's not something in the middle, you didn't do anything. You can't make bracha. There has to be something in the sandwich. There has to be something in Pesukei Dizimra. Baruch She'amar is the first bracha. You need at least an ashrei in the middle, and then you can say Ishtabach. You're not allowed halachically to say Baruch She'amar and then Ishtabach, because you think you're skipping and you need to hit these important points, and you know Baruch She'amar is important, you know Ishtabach is important. Yeah, but it's also a unit, and there's meant to be something inside the middle of the unit. So you have to say some psukim. Ashrei is definitely 100% the most important mizmor that we have in Pesukei Dizimra, so at least that. There are technically 5 points. If anybody wants to look through a Siddur. If you go through Pesukei Dizimra, there should be in your Siddur, and this one it is, certain mizmorim that are in bold, and the others that are not. Whatever is in bold, or what halachically, if you're skipping, you have to say. You should say at least. Right? So again, how to navigate the Siddur a little bit more. The Or L'Tzion brought up another point, suggesting that even if the halacha permits one to skip sections of the prayer in order to be able to recite the Amidah with the congregation, it still might be better to recite the entire text of Shacharit in the proper order and miss the opportunity to recite the Amidah with the congregation. He reasoned that if someone takes advantage of this halacha, he might develop the habit of coming late to synagogue regularly, relying on the ability to skip sections of the prayers. I know, it's fine. 20 minutes late, no problem. I know how to skip. It's fine. I'll just say the 5 psukim. So then it becomes easier in your eyes to be able to skip and to be able to come late. And it's not so important to show up on time because I have this. I can, I'll still make it. I don't have to say every word of Pesukei Dizimra. I'll just skip a few mizmorim. We can't allow ourselves to fall into bad habits. And the halacha of being allowed to skip or even being told to skip, lechatchila, in order to pray with the minyan, could lead to a very bad habit of allowing yourself to show up late to shul. Therefore, he recommended that the latecomer fine himself. It's a punishment. No, how do you fine yourself? Forcing himself to recite the entire shacharit and lose the opportunity of praying the Amidah with the congregation. This way, he'll do his best to come on time on a regular basis. Efech, right? It's a complete opposite. You think you can show up late and you can skip? No, now that you showed up late, say the whole entire thing from the beginning to the end and lose the zchut of praying with the tzibur. That's your fine. Why? So you see, whether, again, halakha l'maaseh, you're meant to skip lechatchila. Look how much is being said about not skipping. Whether you want to take that as musar to show up on time and to do the right thing, or you take it practically, like we just said, you show up late instead of skipping, which the halacha would tell you to do, find yourself and say the whole entire word and miss the zchut of praying with Amidah. No matter how you want to understand it, praying in minyan is extremely important, and saying every single word in the siddur is extremely important. You have to find how much you can combine the two and make the match and the balance between both of those ideas. There's halacha to help you, but the same books that are teaching you are telling you both of these things are extremely important and you have to figure it out. It's either you show up on time and make it happen, or you find yourself this way, or or you walk around with flipped pipes and your clothes on backwards. Go ahead. You're going to say something?
What if Hashem hasn't allowed you to find a minyan? Even if you come an hour early, you pray so slowly, you can't, if you want to say everything, you can't do the Amidah with them.
So then you're exempt. Halachically, you're exempt. Anus patur. Person who's forced against their will in a situation where they can't fix, you're exempt. But in that case, I would say maybe it's better. I don't know. I'm going to say what I feel. I'm not a posek, and you should ask a posek. What I feel is you should, in that case, skip to make sure you pray with a minyan, and then make up everything afterwards. My personal advice, check it with a posek. I'll tell you why as well. Just personally, we're talking about you, right? Or just in general, a person who can't read the Lashon HaKodesh to a point where they can understand the words that are in front of them, which is bottom line of having kavanah. So then most likely there's not so much kavanah beyond that either. Therefore, it would be very dangerous to pray by yourself when you have a promise from Chazal that if you pray in a minyan, your prayers would be accepted. You get what I'm saying? You by yourself, you have no guarantee that your prayers are being accepted. Add on top of that the fact that half of it is in English. And I'm not saying chas v'chalila to argue, I'm just saying let's try to understand the situation. If those are all the parameters, I think praying with a minyan would help a lot. Meaning praying the Amidah with a minyan would help a lot. Because it's a guarantee, your prayers are going up. No questions asked. Afterwards, make up what you missed, what you skipped. With that said too, there's a special ma'ala, the Ben Ish Chai talks about this. You have to skip, at least say something from each world. Meaning say something from Korbanot, say something from Sugad Zimran, say something from Bria. Touch everything. You can't do it all? Okay, beseder, but the order is the order. Try to keep the order. Try to keep the flow of what they instituted for us to say. It is questionable.
But don't say from Ketorah.
Don't start at Ketorah?
So, yeah.
Why not?
I heard that if you start at Ketorah, because taking Korbanos is like literally doing a Korban.
Yeah.
Even saying part of Ketorah is literally like doing Ketorah.
Yeah.
A person who doesn't do all of Ketorah is Chayav Misa. If they don't call the things together.
But with that said, what we call the Ketorah in our Siddur starts with a passage from the Tanakh, from the Torah, and then starts to go into Mishnahs and Braitas. That, Mishnahs and Braitas, definitely you shouldn't say part and not the whole thing. But the piece from the Torah includes all of Ketorah in it, and that is one whole section. Meaning where Moshe Rabbeinu was given the Ketorah, all that, if you say that whole thing, you've just said Ketorah from the Torah with Psukim. Yes, the Braitas and the things are deep and they're important, and that's like breaking it down. But if you're already if you want to say Ketorah without skipping, so then read what was said to Moshe Rabbeinu, what Moshe wrote in the Torah, and it's complete there.
You say half of it?
It's not half. That is complete. That's the Torah portion that talks about Ketorah. There's no more in the Torah
What
than.
if you say half of the Torah portion?
No. Why would you do that already? It's one paragraph. Said it. It's shorter than the rest of Ketorah. כשהציבור ממאמרים בתפילתם, when the tzibur is praying really really fastly, נכון שיקדים לבוא להתפלל מילה במילה מתוך הסידור. It would be fitting, right? If you pray in a minyan that's too fast, you should come early and pray word for word from the sidur. כדי שלא לבלוע תיבות ואותיות, so that you're not swallowing words and letters. ויאמר התיבות כאילו מונה מרגליות. How should you say your words in Tefilah? As if you're counting gems. 1, 2, word for word, complete words. Noam's here. You want to tell him? You want to bring him to the other door? ורק אם איחר לבוא לבית הכנסת בלית ברירה ידלג כמה קטעים בתפילה כפי ששרות שיש לפניו. Only if you came late do you have permission to skip some of your tefillah, some of it, in order to make it to the right part where the tzibur is and to get into the tefillah with them. Bezat Hashem. I'm going to stop here for now because the next halakha is pretty long. Hashem, and let's do some Baal Shem Tov.